The Hot Chick was a comedy that came out 23 years ago in 2002, starring Rob Schneider as a 30-year-old man that gets trapped in a teenage girl's body and vice versa. A mass majority of the film mostly focuses on the girl in the man's body though, as that is the main character and it's typically seen as the funnier of the two storylines. So with body swap comedies, what you see is what you get for the most part, right? Especially when it comes down to gender swap as well. For the most part, the humor in this movie, while it does have some physical comedy, I would say mostly has to do with Rob Schneider making a fool of himself, wearing clothing a teenage girl would typically wear, like crop tops, and acting more or less like one of the girls. And he legitimately does a pretty good job vanishing into a teenage girl role. It's kind of concerning actually, but he does, he does it very, very well. And my favorite parts were probably when he's caught acting feminine before he lowers his voice and he's like, I'm a guy and I do guy things because I'm a guy. You know what I'm talking about. Those moments did get a chuckle out of me, though I think that a lot of the movie probably is a product of its time, because it's asking the audience to laugh at a man dressed like and acting like a girl. But isn't that kind of how the world is right now? I mean, in 2002, we still had some of that, but not as much as we do now. And yeah, it's definitely exaggerated in The Hot Chick, but again, I don't think that it would be a movie you could make in today's world. I just don't think that it would get as much of a pass. This movie, though, is definitely all comedy, because there's really not any plot. Once the transference occurs, none of the characters are really trying to do anything about it. I sometimes like to talk about if a story is any good based off of a number of different aspects, like the story goal, the obstacles in their way to get to the goal, the consequence of not meeting that goal, the archetypes that typically drive that story forward, and how it branches into multiple internal and external through lines. But The Hot Chick literally has none of that. It has a problem that needs to be fixed, yes, the body swap, but it cares not to fix it. Instead, the idea is almost to kind of keep it under the radar. It's not really a great or strong story because, like I said, it's just trying to be a funny movie more than anything else. That can work, but can also end up being to the detriment of the film. Here's where I probably would have made some changes as a director. This is a body swap movie that only really focuses on one character of the swap. Even though we have Rachel McAdams in the film essentially playing Regina Hall again. She's basically a mean girl, and that is the character who swaps bodies with this disgusting 30-year-old man, who just also happens to be a criminal. I just cannot express to you how disappointed I am that there weren't more scenes with Rachel McAdams acting like a 30-year-old disgusting man. What little you see from her is fantastic, and I would argue maybe even funnier than Rob Schneider's stuff, but there's also so little of it. She has like maybe 5% of screen time once the body swap happens, which sucks. It really sucks. There was so much material that they could have used, but they just decided not to. So as a director, I would have probably balanced that out more. I would have also introduced a very simple plot of trying to find whoever had the other body, right? Because they just kind of act like, whoa, you're a dude now, and they don't actually realize that this guy is somebody that they just saw the day before at the gas station. All you have to do is connect the dots, right? As a writer, include that. And then the characters can make it a goal to find the other half of the swap. But like I said, it doesn't really happen. There's a couple of things that obviously move the story forward, like the moment that they find out about the object that actually swapped the bodies, but it doesn't feel like a natural progression. It feels forced in order for the story to continue. But once again, that's often what you get with comedies like this. So honestly, I'm just gonna take that with a grain of salt. But honestly, I can't really look past the fact that it is definitely a product of its time, right? I mean, you can't watch the movie without feeling just how 2002 it feels. A lot of you probably have nostalgia with the film and think that it's a lot of fun, and I certainly don't judge you for that. I think in 2002, it could have been a riot. In 2025, I don't really think a lot of the jokes land as hard as they once did. I did chuckle here and there, not gonna lie, but not as hard as I wanted to. So my end score is 64 out of 100 possible stars, or on my letter grading rubric, that's a C. It could have been a lot worse, honestly, but I was happy to see a lot of the faces that ended up being in the movie here and there, like Rachel McAdams essentially being Regina Hall again, like I said, like Tia and Tamara Mowry from Sister Sisters in the movie, and even Adam Sandler has a pretty funny hippie role that I got a kick out of. And again, I did laugh with bits and pieces of the movie, but yeah, overall, a product of its time. What did you guys think about The Hot Chick, and what is one of your favorite body swap comedies out there? Let me know. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review, whenever and whatever that may be on. And until that day comes, peace out.